Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. I ain't got it. I'm coming after whoever has it. I'm coming after whoever has it. You blowing up, that's good, fantastic. That y'all, it's like that y'all. I don't really give a fuck about it at all. Because the same people that tried to blackball me forgot about two things. My black balls. Welcome along to the first 2016 edition of the Guy and Harley podcast. This is a monumental event. It's a new year, new things to talk about, new everything. I'm Guy Bigden.
And I'm Harley Neville.
How the hell are you?
No rehearsal on that one. Did not know that I was jumping in at the wrong time.
No, well, I didn't know you were either.
So Guy got those lyrics second time round.
Yep, I got the
two takes.
I needed 2 takes for those lyrics.
2 takes. I like how they rhymed all with all. That was clever.
Well, look, come on. Tried to blackball me, forgot about my 2 things. My black balls.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
That's your favourite type of thing, where you say something the same, but in a different context.
Different context. That is my favourite thing. That is my favourite rap go-to. In fact, I've got it in a latest rap that I'm writing.
All right, well,
I'm doing it.
Like, off the cuff, right now, let's hear this new rap.
Oh, I don't know it.
You don't know it off the top of your head?
You should have warned me. I could have had it prepped.
You can't remember any of it?
No, it's not really at that stage.
Okay. Well, we won't be doing that.
If you give me some warning, I totally would have been ready.
I thought you knew it off the top of your head. I heard you rehearsing it 500 times last night.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, I was rehearsing 500 different versions of it too,
right.
Like trying to figure out what works. And frankly, none of it works.
You go, frankly,
none of it works.
Didn't come up with anything.
Yeah. It's like it's about the flag, and currently it's in the shape of we gotta flag this flag, man. I propose a flag ban. Fuck, I don't know. That's the start of it.
That's good. We gotta flag this flag, man.
If the media could agree to stop using the FLAG, then that would be sweet. That would be. I'm really working on that. But it's how it continues.
Yeah. Okay, I'm feeling it.
It's probably sitting at about 20% done, maybe 30 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
So a bit of work to be done on that one.
Right. Well,
wait, who was that rapper?
Oh, that was Kanye West.
Oh, Kanye.
Yeah, so I was listening to that. I thought that was good. Blackball me. Forgot about my 2 black balls.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
Well, I could relate to Kanye in that sort of moment, because my balls are black.
Black with hair. Black with a massive bush of hair. And no light can get through the fucking Wolverine hanging out in your pants down there. Yeah. They are black, I bet.
So this is 2016, man,
and we're kicking the year off with a sober podcast.
Well, yeah, I guess New Year's resolutions. Let's talk about New Year's resolutions. Now, one of my New Year's resolutions was get rid of the dad bod.
Yeah.
That's
so unoriginal. It's so that it's the same resolution that every person on Earth makes every year.
Stop being.
I'm going to be in better shape.
Stop being a fat piece of shit. Basically,
I give it 2 weeks.
Well, I don't. I give a bit more. But thank you for your support.
No, I think you're quite a driven man.
But I've got to get in shape for potential older pickups and stuff like that, and also, I went swimming a few times because I've been on a bit of a holiday tour over a few days, and I was seeing people taking their tops off, and I was seeing me taking my tops off, and I was getting quite depressed. I was like, I can't be an old man yet. I'm too young to be an old man just yet. I'm too young to be that guy.
That fat old guy at the beach.
That fat guy kind of semi-sucking his guts in, going, I'm still good. I'm still in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Girls would look at me and kind of say that about me, I think. When they definitely would not say that and are not looking, and if they are looking, are slightly disgusted. I don't want to be that guy. So, I was like, look, there's no reason. I sort of was planning to do this, but Christmas time got in the way. The bad eating of Christmas got in the way. But New Year's resolutions, I've got a couple of other ones, but what are yours?
I really just wanted to make sure we shot our third feature film this year. More of a goal than a resolution.
Yep.
Simply because, time's of the essence here.
Yep.
It's been 2 years since we shot Older, and it's still several months away at best. 6 months. 6 months is moderately optimistic, I think.
Yeah, you might be right there.
And so, given that it takes 2 to 3 years to make a film, judging by Zombie Holocaust, 5 years, and our second one is sort of
3
ongoing. So we don't actually know, but it could take 3 years. It could take 4. It could take 5. We don't know. The point is that you got to get the next one in the can. Because that's only the very beginning of a very long process.
It's just the start of it, man.
Yeah.
You think like when you finish shooting, you're like, wow, glad that's done. That's pretty much the film finished. Quite the opposite. That's kind of the beginning of the journey. And even if you look at even if you put in hundreds of hours on the writing, on the pre-production, and the shooting, that still pales in comparison to the many more hundreds of hours you're going to do on the editing, the sound design, the music, the kind of deliverables of it, the submission to festivals. So, it's sorry if you just got yours in the can, but
basically those 16-hour days and stressing out of 16 hours of stressful misery per day for 3 or 4 weeks. That was the fun, easy part.
That was the part where you're really having a laugh.
Yeah.
Because I guess too, that's the thing is when you're shooting, you have a definite end of when you're shooting. You might shoot more later, but that in 2 weeks' time, that's it. Or that at the end of the 16th hour, that's it. Whereas this kind of it's kind of this time
post-production never-ending story.
Yeah, this time-bending time warp. Falcon. And it kind of just stretches out, and it's like there's this thing in Terry Pratchett books where one of the characters that death is always there, and everyone has an hourglass which dictates how long they're going to live for, and most are just a sort of a straight line going down with sand going down to the bottom of this hourglass, and when that sand falls out, that's it, you're dead. Whereas there's this one character...
You slip off the mortal coil.
Rincewind the Magician, his hourglass, it looks like at any time he could die, but the glass is so warped and disfigured that sand seems to start going upwards at certain points and kind of deviating off on these weird paths. So just as you think it's going to run out, it keeps going. And I feel like that is post-production in a way, because you think, oh yeah, I can see the end, and then it just deviates off into this huge sort of extra bit that you had no concept of.
Delay
exactly.
That you weren't prepared for.
Yeah, so that's good.
I believe that's the second time Rincewind's hourglass has come up on the show.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Good. But in a different context this time.
Right.
So that's all right. Last time I think we were actually talking about death.
Right. So, yeah, I think we should definitely... I think that was a good goal. When I saw that on Facebook, through my girlfriend's Facebook, when she read it out to me from her Facebook, because I'm not on Facebook, I was like, yeah, That's a bloody good goal.
Yeah, hit like on that for me.
It makes sense. We should try and do that. It does sort of mean that it will be we'll be doing less things. If
Other things, you mean?
Yeah, less other things.
Other smaller projects.
Yeah.
Well, that's why... See, the thing is, right, we're a long way away from shooting this thing. Realistically, it would be in the second half of the year.
For sure, I've got to write the script first.
Exactly. So that means that we've got all of the first half of the year to concentrate on getting shit done.
That's true.
So these poetry videos we've got coming up soon.
Yep.
New skit coming out soon.
Yep.
New music video coming out soon.
We've just received the second cut of the...
Oh, I haven't seen it.
You have not? Oh, man, Harley, get out with the times, bro.
Oh, you didn't send it to me.
No, you got tweeted it.
Oh, what's a tweet?
You got tweeted at Harley Neville, at Guy Pigden, second cut of the thing.
Right.
And it just came out just before I left. So, bro, it was like a week ago.
Well, you got to tell
haven't
me.
seen it. Well, I honestly thought that you knew what Twitter was.
No, boy.
And you were checking your Twitter like at least once every couple of days.
Listen to me. Twitter is so shitter. It sucks, man. It's so bad. It's just 140 characters is not enough to contain my intellect, man. And I just don't care. And nobody else seems to be able to get across anything interesting in 140 characters. Nothing. I'm yet to read a good tweet.
Well,
in the history of tweets, and keeping in mind that I've had to sit through the tweeter section so many times, because remember, the tweeter section existed before the Guy and Harley podcast existed, because we used to do the tweeter segment, or Guy used to do the tweeter segment on the Guy and Harley radio show when we were on Radio Ponsonby. So I've heard them all, and I'm yet to hear a good one.
Well, I disagree with that. I think you've had many classic tweets in your time.
That I've tweeted?
No.
Or that I've read?
That you've heard from me.
No.
Read to you. In fact, I'd love to break out the Twitter section right now, but I can't because my phone has broken down.
So sad.
So I actually cannot do my goddamn Twitter section.
That's a shame.
And then the Twitter section, and there's a lot of fans out there who've been like, where is the Twitter section? We missed the tweets. And I'm sorry, I've been retweeting less. So normally I was just looking for funny things to retweet at a certain point. And now I kind of retweet interesting articles to myself that I read later. So they're not really that helpful for the segment. So that's why that's taken a bit of a back seat.
Yeah. Well, so this new edit, though, anyway, I look forward to seeing it. But we do have a few other things planned as well coming up. So it's all good. We'll do both. We'll do the feature film at the end of the year.
Yep.
Just when the weather gets better, hopefully, again, next summer.
Yep.
And then we'll do these other things in between.
And any other New Year's resolutions for yourself?
No, that was more or less it. I mean, I would quite like to get a bit more active with poetry stuff. Try and just maybe like perform a little bit more often and write some new shit more often.
Right.
But, that being said, I kind of feel like I'm doing all right anyway. I'm putting out enough stuff. It's all good.
Yeah.
So no, nothing major. Because I kind of considered, I was like, what am I gonna choose here? All right, Harley, this year in 2016, you're going to drink less, eat better, work out. Oh, fuck it. Yeah, we know that none of it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I'm just going to keep on keeping on like I have been, and I reckon that's good enough.
Well, let me pose this question to you. Where, do you see, in terms of fatness, when is it becoming an issue?
Well, are we talking about weight? Are we talking about like kgs that I've got to count kind of thing?
Yeah, where are you okay, now I actually have to work a bit harder?
Well, I don't ever want to reach 80 kilos.
Right.
I feel like...
where are you at now?
79 or so. I'm not. I think I'm like...
79.5 or something like that? No, I'm not kidding.
Well, I haven't checked for a little while, but I vary between 74 and 78.
Right.
Is sort of where I go. And I'm assuming I'm closer to 78 at the moment than 74.
Right.
I feel like 72. I feel like that's an ideal weight for me. 72. I feel like that's a good one. But that extra couple of kilos, it's too much effort.
Yeah, it is an effort, and it means constant deprivation. Being miserable. Everyone else is having a great time drinking beers. You can't have any. And a lot of misery, and that's definitely sort of what's held me back to a degree is just the misery of it all. just being miserable in life because you can't do the things you want to do.
Well, I find that moderation is key. You see, I feel like I eat the things I want, but I don't eat them too much. I feel like that's maybe my saving grace there, is that I don't eat too many of the bad things. And I could just really, I just need to up my exercise a little bit more to more than once a week at most.
Once for half an hour per week. That's definitely not what the doctor recommends.
No. Although I do, I walk some other places, and sometimes I do some exercise with Angie in the backyard.
Yeah. Well, nice. I'm always surprised that you're pretty... I've had this groin injury recently. I've strained my back in the past. I've had a side strain issue. And I think a lot of that is...
because you go too hard at the gym.
Well, no, I think...
You've been gymming for the last 15 years and haven't given your body time to just be, itself.
That's your motto for how to have a healthy life.
Yeah,
let your body
stress-free.
Let your body be itself.
Yeah, man. Stress-free. Stress ages you, man.
I
read about it the other day.
I disagree that it's the gym that's the culprit. I think it's more sitting down for 12 hours at a stretch quite a lot.
Yeah,
that's the real problem.
But my job's all sitting down in front of a computer.
But that's sort of 4 to 6 hours at a stretch.
Sometimes, and then I come home and sit on Facebook for 4 to 6 more hours.
That's true.
Or today, I've been sitting in front of the TV playing Grand Theft Auto. My day off, haven't left the house.
Yeah. So, but I do always kind of marvel that you don't have more just moderate ailments, like muscular ailments from your complete lack of doing anything. You're exercising so little. That I'm like, when is this all going to catch up to him?
Yeah, when, damn it? I'm looking forward to this.
When is it going to happen?
Yeah, well, my mum's still not fat, and she's like 50 something. I saw a picture of my dad recently, who lives in Australia, and I don't know if it was just the photo or if he's dropped a whole bunch of weight, but he was looking real trim.
Right.
So, but yeah, I guess maybe my genes aren't too bad either for that type of thing.
Yeah. I
do have an ailment though, which I've been meaning to bring up again on the podcast. So long-time listeners will remember the issue of the my new segment, the Butt Chronicles, in which we discuss my pilonidal sinus, aka hairy buttitis, which is
we dedicated half a podcast to it at one point,
which is a hole above your butthole. Caused, well, they don't entirely know what it's caused by, but they reckon it's to do with having like a hair, like an ingrown hair or something like that, which essentially becomes a tunnel into your flesh, which never ever heals. It can only go away by being operated on. Yeah. Now, last time we spoke, I had said that I was, it had come back. I'd had it years ago. You'd had one years ago. Your operation, it went away. I had an operation. Mine went away for like 5 or 6 years, and then just recently it came back. So I went to the doctor, and I was like, "Hey, doc, I've got a pilonidal sinus. Give me the referral. I need an operation. I want to get it done in winter because I don't want to because you can't swim and stuff because you've got to get bandages changed every day for X amount of weeks or months afterwards. So you can't swim, and I didn't want to ruin my summer. So I was like, get it done in winter. So I was proactive. I went down there, and the bitch was like, I'm just going to give you some antibiotics.
Which don't do anything.
Which didn't do anything. They didn't do anything, and now I still need it. And it's just steadily getting slowly worse. It's just slowly but surely getting worse, not better. It'll never get better. And so now my option is to go in now and ruin my summer, or wait until the end of summer and just let it get slightly worse, and then do it,
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a dangerous game because, I had a bad case of hairy buttitis, and it was a very long recovery. It was really kind of like a year all up between the time that it was, from the time that the operation happened to the time that it was completely healed. And certainly for a good half of that, I was really limited in what I could do, even in terms of like sitting down for any length of time, but also just, couldn't really go to the gym, weren't meant to, couldn't really go for runs. It was just a very frustrating thing. And so the longer you leave it,
the worse.
The bigger the excavation they're going to have to make to get it all out, and then so I don't know. Summer's almost over. You might as well just do it now.
Summer's just starting. Summer's like the good months in New Zealand are January, February.
Yeah, well, yeah. But also you might. It depends if they rush you in or not. You might be on a list for a while.
Yeah. Well, so that's an ailment I have. It's not an injury.
It's not life threatening.
It's not from being lazy either. It's just one of those things. But I do have an ailment, and also I've got a tooth which I've got to get ripped out. Still on my to-do list. The Harley's ailment section of the show.
So I guess I've got muscle issues. You've got a tooth issue, which is actually much more expensive to fix. And a butt issue. Yeah,
which is just difficult. Just embarrassing.
Which is just aggravating. Yeah. Aggravated buttitis.
As it's known.
An extreme case of aggravated buttitis. I think that's what the internet has. They're quite, yes.
The comment section on all of our videos.
They have aggravated buttitis. My New Year's resolutions, I think, are kind of similar to what they always are, which is just shoot more, work harder on the film stuff. Really, plus obviously, get a bit trimmer. Get a bit trimmer for winter where no one will ever notice. I think that my New Year's resolution for about 3 years was finish the zombie film. Yeah. And now I'm at a bit of a loss. Yeah. So I actually did finish it.
Well, now you've got to finish older.
Yeah, now I've got to finish older. But I was sort of like, oh shit. Like, I guess I'd been thinking about finishing that each time a new year came around. Like, this is it. This is going to be the year. Yeah. But speaking of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, I got a little message from Matchbox Films. Yep. Murray Dibbs. Who is releasing the film in the UK. He's the distributor in the UK, and he asked if I wanted to do some interviews for the film, to which I said, of course, sir, I will do whatever I can to help promote the film. But I thought it was nice because that's the first time that anyone is distributing the film has, A, seemed to want to do any type of promotion for it, and B, trying to get the filmmakers involved in that. Yeah. So Murray, thank you very much, and I've just sent through my first interview, which was actually, I will say, had some very clever questions. The guy had watched the film and he had observed some things that I wanted people to notice that no one seemed to have ever talked about before. So I was like, hey, good on you. So I think that's...
Hey, Murray, if you're listening, you've got the 6 minute longer version of the film. Can we fix this? Can we give you the other version?
Well, Murray, was going to bring that up, actually, to you. I'm just debating how to do that without getting in trouble. I'm debating the best method of doing that without getting in trouble. In deep trouble.
Well, look, maybe it would be better if I just talked about it and you didn't say a thing.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
Because, yeah, you've got the 6 minute longer version. It's 6 minutes longer. There's a whole new edit. Well, not a whole new edit, but a final edit, which... tighter, a few more kills, just a bit better, a bit more refined.
Tweaked a few things.
Sped up the first third of the film. And that is the sort of the definitive and better version
Director's cut.
The director's cut, exactly. However, the sales agent doesn't have that version. The sales agent you've been dealing with.
No, that has been released in New Zealand, Australia.
The definitive version, New Zealand, Australia. The rest of the world's getting this prior edit due to some miscommunications at some point.
Quite a few miscommunications.
Yeah, some miscommunications. So look, just saying, if you want to get that final version, maybe you should get in touch.
Yeah, we'd be happy to provide that.
Discreetly-ish.
Of course. So... what else be going on with you?
Well, so, given the time of year, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, Christmas Eve, I was...
The fattening.
Christmas Eve, I was walking to the supermarket to get some fresh fruit and bits and pieces so that I could make my lovely girlfriend a fresh fruit salad for breakfast on Christmas Day. And so I was walking down the road, it's only around the corner, and I noticed a homeless man sleeping in a sort of a small open garage kind of thing underneath an umbrella.
Yep, the umbrella man.
And I thought to myself, that's a real shame that this guy... Well, he wasn't actually sleeping, he was just getting ready, he was making his bed. And I was like, that's a real shame that this guy is kind of sitting there all on his lonesome on Christmas Eve, nobody talking to him or anything like that.
Also, his house is an umbrella.
It's an umbrella, yeah.
Just think about for a second if your house was an umbrella.
Exactly.
How comfortable would you be on a day-to-day basis?
Not that comfortable, but you'd have to assume that Christmas is an even harder time when you know that all around you in Grey Lynn there's all these richies, like having a lovely time, lovely Christmas Eve dinner and stuff. Yep. So anyway, I resolved to get him something extra while I was at the supermarket, drop it off to him on the way back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I went to the supermarket and I bought all my shit, all my eco this and my free range that, and you know, all my rich boy products, and then completely forgot about him. And then I walked out the door and I had my bags all with me, and I was like, the fucking bum. I forgot about the bum. And then I was like, well, am I going to go back in, with all my gears, I got like all my bags of shit. Am I going to go back in? I don't even know what I'm going to buy him. And I was like, am I going to do that? Am I a good enough person to go back inside on Christmas Eve to buy something extra for this guy to take it and drop off to him and say Merry Christmas?
This was a Scrooge situation, a turning point in your life.
It was.
Where, you'd walk past this umbrella man a million times. Bah, humbug, you fucking glue sniffing idiot. Leeching off the social welfare system and my tax dollars. Christmas Eve, you'd had a change of heart. Suddenly you thought about his plight. Maybe he wasn't sniffing glue all that time. Maybe circumstances had worked against him and the umbrella was his only sanctuary. And you felt empathy for the first time in your life. And you came to this crossroads. What happened?
I was like, nah, fuck it. And so I walked past. So I walked back past, but I just crossed the road, so I didn't have to see him. Yeah. And then
great strategy.
Good strategy.
Don't look at the thing that's going to make you feel guilty.
Yep.
Just walk around it as if it never existed.
Exactly.
As if this person wasn't a real person, but a figment of your imagination the first time.
Exactly. It's this denial, I guess.
Christmas
denial.
Christmas denial.
And so I mean, I also asked myself several other questions. I was like, well, what do you get the guy? Like, what do you get him? Like, I would just got
him a hot chicken.
Well, under normal circumstances, that's a pretty good one. Under normal circumstances, if you're buying something for somebody, you might buy them a beer on Christmas Eve. But I was like, well, he might be a raging alcoholic. That might be why he's homeless. He's trying to get clean. Yeah. And here I am. I'm like, hey, buddy, here's a beer. Keep ruining your life. Yeah. So I was like, what do you even get the guy? I was like, it's a sandwich. You get him a loaf of bread. You get a couple. What do you get him? So I was like, nah, too hard, basket.
Yeah.
And kept walking basically. And it inspired a little the beginnings of potentially of a poem or something like that, because it made me think it was like a biblical sort of story,
It
and
was,
and the rich man walked past, his bags laden with fruit, and thought, damn, what a shame. I wish there was something I could do. And then when I got home as well, I was like, well, actually, Harley, why I bought too much fruit, and I actually had 2 bottles of juice with me as well. I was like, why didn't I give him 1 bottle of juice, a couple of bananas, a few nectarines, whatever, put them in a bag and say, hey mate, here, Merry Christmas. Better than nothing, right? And then I was like, yeah, I'm a bad person. So then on New Year's Eve, I've been thinking about it throughout the week. I've been thinking about it.
It'd been playing on your mind.
Exactly. And on New Year's Eve, I was walking past, and there he was again in the same spot. And I was like, all right, well, this is it.
Almost like he lived by countdown under the umbrella, and he was there every single day.
And so I was like, well, this is it, Nevs. You got to get him something on the way back. This time it's New Year's Eve. You can stop by, give him something, say Happy New Year's, and keep going, whatever it's going to be. So I went along and I bought all my rich boy products and my eco this and my
free range
that, and then I walked out of the store and I realized I'd completely forgotten about it again. And I was like, well, am I going to go back in? I've got all my stuff. I've got some ice cream in here. It'll melt.
It's going to melt.
What am I going to do? I've got shit to do. I've got to stop at the bottle store to get a bottle of gin for New Year's Eve as well.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck it. And then so I walked along to the bottle store. But then as I was walking back from the bottle store, I was like, aha, chip shop. So I stopped by at what the ironically named Goodwill chip store, chip shop, and I bought the Goodwill combo, which is chips, burger, hot dog, fish, and also bought a drink.
Yeah.
Right? I thought, sweet. So I'll just buy this shit, give it to him on the way past. It's a Happy New Year's, mate. Hope you're doing all right.
Yeah.
put my conscience at rest.
Yeah.
So I waited there. I ordered it. I waited. My ice cream was melting. I was sitting there. I was just waiting. Really, I wasn't getting chips for myself. I just got them for him. And then I was walking past the homeless guy, and he was asleep. And I was like, "Fuck!" I was kind of hoping he'd be awake. Yeah. And I was like, "Knock, knock." Can I come in?
Classic knock knock umbrella joke. He's like, I have an umbrella for a house. I don't appreciate this knock knock gag.
and then he
classic Nebs.
And he didn't wake up.
He didn't wake up.
Well, so I was like, all right, well, sweet as, I'll just chuck it by him, I'll just like put it by his feet there. So I put the bag down real quietly, put the bottle of the can of Coke down or whatever it was, and he woke up.
Yeah.
And he scared the shit out of me because I was like, because I was like,
you go, oh, don't kill me, sir.
Basically, is this guy dangerous?
I will kill you.
Yeah. So I kicked him in the face.
Yeah. just the first reaction.
It was a reaction.
Kicked him in the face.
No, I didn't kick him in the face.
Fight or flight.
But he was like, I don't want it.
Right.
And he hadn't even seen what it was. It could have been a bag of money. Like, he didn't even know what it was. So he wasn't just like he wasn't on a diet. It wasn't like he didn't want fish and chips.
Yeah.
It was, I don't want it. And I was like, oh, you sure? It's just like some chips and a burger and stuff. And he was like, don't want it. Thank you. No, thank you. And then I was like, oh, all right then.
I've been thinking about you for a week.
I've been thinking about you for a week.
You've been playing on my conscience for a week, sir.
This was exactly what I had feared would happen too, because I was like, what do you take a guy who's got nothing? Like, you just give him any old thing, or is he like, fuck off with your charity? Like, what is this? You going to buy me some fish and chips and feel good about yourself, you rich white son of a bitch? Like,
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay. So I just kept on walking with my chips and all that. So I wasted my money. I wasted my time. I let my ice cream melt, and I spent a week worrying about him. So the moral of the story is...
don't care about other people.
Don't give a fuck about anyone but yourself.
And definitely don't look out for homeless people.
Exactly.
Now, you should have... but I guess you should have been a little bit more clued in to the homeless of Grey Lynn, because, I probably could have told you that he might be like that.
Well,
because,
why?
Well, because I'm familiar with the Umbrella Man. In fact, I wrote a little bit about the Umbrella Man in a bit that was cut out of Older.
Right.
But he never has like thing out for change.
Yeah.
He's never asking people that go past him. He just kind of glares at them.
Yeah.
And so whereas almost every other homeless person is asking for something. But I have never seen him specifically do that. And that did make me wonder, because I was like, you're right by Countdown. You're living under the umbrella. You clearly need stuff. But you're not asking for all these people walking past with their shopping, with their money, with et cetera, but all these other people are. So I kind of feel like, Umbrella Man's too good for you. It's too good for your fish and chips. Too good for your charity.
Well, that was my biggest fear. And the thing is, right, that's just rude. Because, if somebody buys me something that I don't want, you know what I do? I smile and I say, thank you.
Well, hang on. Maybe he's on the low-carb diet.
But he didn't see what it was.
Right.
It could have been a bag of money. He had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
Because he was still lying down and I was kind of like down by his feet kind of thing.
But then you did tell him.
Well, afterwards, after he'd already said no several times. And I was like, oh, sweet ass.
Right.
I was like, all good. So then I took it home and I ate it.
The classic Umbrella Man joke of the knock-knock, though, that was just brilliant.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a good way to start the relationship.
Probably
or
not. Well, look, that's a good story.
Yeah.
So I went camping on New Year's.
Yep.
Got out in amongst it. And, I like my creature comforts, I like sleeping on a normal bed. Don't like sleeping under the stars. Don't like tents. Don't like not having access to the internet. Don't like not being able to work. Basically, don't like walking. Definitely don't like walking.
No.
Walking is the worst.
Not a fan of walking at all.
Hate
Guy
walking.
drives to the supermarket, which is like 3 blocks away.
Yeah, kill myself rather than do some walking. So I had some apprehensions. But
That's the problem. You're not exercising how a human was designed to exercise.
Well,
Walking.
Yeah, but I'm walking on the treadmill. So I don't know. So I had some reservations about this trip, because we're basically gone for 4 days, and we basically went all the way up to the top of the North Island and then back down again the other
Cape
side.
Reinga.
Yep. And it was actually really awesome. It was good. I mean, I used to go camping all the time when I was a kid. And, it's actually pretty good. We only one night was a bad night.
where we basically got into a town too late, and we went to this very trailer park, camping ground, because it was free. So unfortunately, the free camping grounds attract the dregs of camping society, which is, disgusting, slobbish hippies, and legit, like, trailer park, like, kind of chavvy, kind of people, and there's no way to get out of that because it's free, and so they're all gonna flock to the free places. And if you want to stay somewhere for free, then you just kind of have to put up with that. But this place was actually full when we got there, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and it was like, shit, what are we gonna do? So we had to kind of drive, because you don't want to camp sort of near a main road really, and so we ended up sort of pulling into this little picnic spot. And there was shitty toilet paper from some hippies that had camped there earlier.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, it was off the road, but it was right next to this cow paddock. It was pitch black. You couldn't see anything. And then, as soon as you turn the torch on, you'd get all these sandflies swarming around your light. So as we were setting up the tent, we're just basically attracting all these sandflies towards us and into the tent with us. And so we had all these sandflies buzzing around, shitty toilet paper just down the road. Also, the kind of threat that we'd get a knock on our tent, the classic knock joke on our tent from Doc, who are like, you cannot camp here, and here's a $250 fine.
And also, here's another $250 fine for shitting down the road and putting the toilet
not cleaning
paper
up your
there.
toilet paper. And we'd be like, no, that's someone else's shitty toilet paper.
Story.
Here's
another $250 for lying.
We haven't taken any shits here, I swear, sir. And so that was the only night. And also, it sort of was, by the time we'd set everything up, it was sort of like 1:30 in the evening. We're totally exhausted. In the morning. I'd only had about 3 hours sleep the night before. And it was just in the sandflies. I don't really like bugs in the tent at the best of times. So that was the only night where things kind of went a bit awry. And also our New Year's was a bit of a chilled out affair, because we'd got into this small town of Rawene, I think it's called. And it was across the ferry, and we didn't know how far the next town was, and we'd got a camping ground there, and we're kind of like, we'd just been caught out at the shitty picnic. We just had a shitty picnic affair, so we didn't want to kind of get into the same situation on New Year's. And so we ended up staying there. We went down to the pub. There was no one under the age of 50 at the pub. There was no one under the age of 50. And it was just clearly we were these two weird outsiders as well, because we were so much younger than everyone else, and everyone was, there was a live band, they were all having a great time, but just, not our crowd, And so we went back to the camp. We ended up just spending New Year's at the camping ground and having a few drinks and meeting up with a couple of randoms that were playing music. We just as you do, just casually wandered into their kind of camping spot, and we're like, hey guys,
hey, I heard the music. What are you guys up to?
What are you doing?
Yeah, we're not up to much, eh?
Sweet. So that's what we did. And I will say this about New Zealand: you can always depend on the kindness of strangers to offer you weed.
That is true.
It's true.
It is quite true.
Wherever you go, if you kind of start chatting with people and you're not a total dick, and it's kind of a party environment, someone's going to bust out a doobie.
I was hitchhiking one time, and the driver was like, hey man, let's pull over and smoke this weed. And I was like 16.
And you're like, don't you gotta drive somewhere, bro?
Well, luckily it was when I was getting out. It was basically when I was getting out. It was like, so here we are. Oh, and before you go, here's a blaze up.
Yeah. But I just think that's a lovely part of New Zealand society.
It is.
So we got offered a bit of weed and a couple of shots of Jaeger, and then retired for the night. We also took a dip in the pool at sort of just after midnight, which was freezing cold and arguably a terrible idea. But we did it.
But you'll remember it.
And yeah, it was a pretty pleasant night, but unfortunately our sort of plans were a little bit curtailed by the weather. So the weather had turned a bit sour on that last New Year's Eve night. Apparently, it was still good in Auckland, but it was not good up north.
Well, it wasn't good per se, but it wasn't too bad. It was pretty windy and stuff.
Right.
Well, mine was pretty chilled as well. My New Year's with the family with Angie, my girlfriend, and her family,
AKA the Colombian cartel.
the Colombian cartel. And so we went to a Colombian party.
Yep.
It was nice. We had a fire outside, and we drank a little bit and hung out. But it was nothing too loose, nothing too wild. And then I was in bed at like 1 a.m. something like that.
Yeah.
So that was how I saw in the new year.
Are we getting old, Harley? Is that the problem?
Well, I think that getting old is part of the problem. I also think
Certainly a problem.
I also think that like being in a relationship, your New Year's is always going to be a little more tame than if you're like a single man. You're more likely to go out to a crazy party or something. I feel. Yeah. Whereas if you're in a happy, stable relationship, you don't need any of that. You got nothing to look for out there, so you kind of just chill out with the missus, and then you're like, well, why would I be hungover for this?
Yeah, and then there's the thing too, is I always just think about hangovers now, is like you're wasting 2 days. You're wasting the day that you're drunk, and then you're wasting the next day when you can't do anything because you're hungover. And, in 2 days of not working on whatever the thing is, I don't like. I'm not a fan of that. So, yeah, I think there's that. And also, like, I don't know, New Year's is kind of played out, We've had 16 big New Year's or something like that, and at a certain point you're like, okay, so what's the difference between this and any other year? At 12 o'clock we all say Happy New Year's, but otherwise it's a night out where you all get drunk? What are we really achieving here?
You got to make the effort. If you leave, me staying in Auckland meant that it really did just feel like some other night out. Whereas when you go somewhere special specifically for New Year's, I feel it does have a bit more of a good vibe, a bit of a fun adventure vibe. But I haven't done that for a while.
Well, I certainly wasn't really feeling the idea too of waking up hungover because we're driving the next day.
Yeah,
didn't really make sense. So, but still, pretty good, pretty decent. I'm not complaining. Was I complaining? Maybe a little bit.
Almost certainly.
Probably okay. That was a complaint. But a successful trip.
Now, I'm going to warn you right now, next week's episode of the podcast will be late because, not tomorrow but the next day, I go down south to Central Otago for 6 days.
Right.
I'll be coming back on the Tuesday or something like that.
Right.
I won't be back in time for the podcast on Sunday.
Okay.
So just be warned, listeners.
Sorry, guys.
We're off to a bad start
and look,
to the year.
We'll just say right off the bat, we hope you had a lovely New Year's. We hope you had a great party. Thank you for joining us in 2016. What new adventures, what new journeys will we go on? Well, just tune in to find out.
Now, we've got a listener topic here.
Speaking of adventures.
Speaking of
journeys into the unknown.
Speaking of death earlier, James Graves. Now, quite a long time back, I can't remember what episode, James Graves asked us to talk about ghosts and if we believed in them. And we discussed that. We basically, essentially, I was in the camp of no, I do not believe in them. I can't remember what you said.
I think I said no, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
I was like, the Stanley Kubrick point of view. He's like, look, ghost stories aren't scary. I would love it if there was a ghost because it means there's some type of afterlife. I'm hoping I see a ghost.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, but, that's what your problems are. That's what your problem with your books are, Stephen King. They're happy books. And Stephen King was like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you, Stanley?
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. So anyway, James Graves, he mentioned last time that he had these photos that he had taken of his old house. He took the photos not long after his mum died.
Yeah.
And then when he finally got around to looking at the photos, he saw a few ghostly apparitions in them, and he thought maybe this was his mum, coming back to hang out and give him a creepy look from a photo kind of thing. Now, he found the photos and he sent them to me. And Guy and I have studied them very closely.
Scientific.
And
analysis.
We that's really the topic. And so basically, I'm afraid, James, in the camp of I don't buy it. And see, the biggest, I've written a spiel here. See, for me, the biggest nail in the coffin for the supernatural was when
No pun intended.
was when I read a little bit about human psychology, which explained to me why we see faces in everything and why we want to see faces in things, you know. Now, this thing is called, now I can't actually say this word, pareidolia. Pareidolia. Something like that. And that is us seeing faces in things, right? And so, you know, he sent us two pictures. One of them's got kind of a ghostly white light over it. Now, I will post these pictures as in, you know, below on the podcast
You can make
page.
up your own mind.
Exactly. It's facebook.com/GuyandHarley, and I'll post them there. And you can let us know what you think. Now, one of them's sort of a ghostly white light. Now, in my opinion, that's a camera. That's a camera trick. That's a trick of the light. It's blurry. It's just a blurry photo, ghostly white thing. Happens all the time. The other one is of a house, and there's kind of, if you look, there's a face in the window, but it could also kind of be a reflection. And it's also not a great quality photo again. And so, you know, there's that whole thing of whenever I'm tempted to believe in the supernatural or anything kind of, you know, weird or like that, I always ask myself kind of a simple question, which is more likely? There's a reflection in the window, a reflection of something across the road, which kind of looks like a face due to pareidolia, or there's a ghost that only makes itself visible in low quality old photos and never in HD. And, you know, inevitably the answer is that it's almost certainly, well, it's much more likely to be a reflection. But this pareidolia, I just want to say here, it's I've got the definition here. It's hypothesized to be the result of eons of natural selection favoring people most able to quickly identify the mental state, for example, of threatening people, thus providing the individual an opportunity to flee or attack preemptively. In other words, processing this information subconsciously before it is passed on to the rest of the brain for detailed processing basically gives you an advantage, you know. So it's a, you know, you look at a rock, you see a face, and that's a, you know, like a defense mechanism right there. You see a face, you're like, is it bad? Is it good? Before the rest of the, you know, the sort of the smart part of your brain can go, no, it's just a rock, dumbass.
No, dummy, it's just a rock.
Yeah,
look at it. It's the size and shape of a rock.
Yeah, but that, you know, that those extra few seconds that sort of that defense mechanism gives you might be the difference between life and death in the wild.
Yeah,
and which is why when you look in the window there, you see a face. Also, you know, you probably want to see a face because it's really nice to believe that, you know, mum's still there watching over you.
Yeah.
And so on. You know, it's what you want, but it's what you want is not always true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my analysis of the situation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, James, you've got a case of the pareidols, the pareidolias.
What's that?
Whatever that thing was you just said.
Oh, yeah, pareidolia.
You got a case? Yeah. So, look, my opinion is this, and this is, I think, the big thing with photos, is that there's a thing when you take photos called lens flare.
Yep. And
lens flare is when light, sometimes sun, sometimes from a light, reflects off the glass and casts a kind of, normally it's kind of looks like a bubble or something of like additional light. And it's the light, you know, sort of refracting in some weird way. And you can see it in lots of films. In fact, many films are trying to capture that flare to a degree. J.J. Abrams in the Star Trek films is most notorious for having lens flare, but you can see it in a lot. You can see it sometimes when cars are driving past. You see their headlights and their light, the two glowing orbs kind of get wide and stretched out. But there can be all sorts of weird types of lens flare, especially in sort of, you know, low quality cameras. So, you know, knowing that light can influence your camera in this way so easily, and can create so many different, like, kind of types of flare on your lens and in your photos, means that something has to look very visibly like a ghost, like really like a super defined, like if you imagine like someone drew a ghost and then put that ghost into your photo in the most obvious
way, like you were seeing a like Slimer out of Ghostbusters in the back of your photo, that is the only time that you could really say, okay, there's no way that the lens flare could form into this shape of Slimer. That's too far. But if the lens is kind of these shapes that suggest faces and images, it's kind of like looking up at the clouds and, seeing a lion or whatever.
Also, what's up with how ghosts always appear in these old photos and stuff, but they never just appear like walking down the main street? Like, what is there rules against where ghosts can appear and in front of how many people? Why don't they ever appear on a live TV set, in HD, in front of the aghast presenter,
And you're right, and also was sort of because also at a certain point, photos were the only way to record something. So when you took a photo, unless you were rich and had like film stock or whatever, but like literally, we're talking about the last, prior to the last 20 years, maybe 30, the only way, to kind of capture something was to take a photo of it. And so you could make the argument that ghosts were appearing in photos because that's the only time you're sort of recording in this device, right? And you maybe not notice them because they're hard to see. But now we're living in this kind of digital age where everything you can take a photo every second if you want. People are recording their
CCTV everywhere.
Yeah, you're recording your entire life really on Facebook and Instagram or whatever. And there's not like more ghosts popping up, and there's not ghosts, as you said, like just popping up in videos like, oh shit, there's a ghost behind us, look everyone, we're all pointing at this ghost, this is going to go viral on YouTube, which of course would be the first thing that happened if ghosts were ghosting about. But the very fact that they're not, and we're still going back to this old kind of idea of like, here's a photo, if you look really carefully and you tilt your head just right and you squint kind of a little bit, there's a face, that the fact that, ghosts haven't evolved with their technology suggests that they're probably not there.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
So good topic, James.
Thank you for that, James.
Thank you for that. We will post the pictures below, and hell, maybe we're wrong.
And
Let's see what the listeners think.
I'm certainly hoping to be visited by a ghost.
Yeah.
Preferably not the ghosts of Christmas, present, past, and future.
No.
But a ghost.
A ghost, yeah. Well, look, I would like to see a ghost for that very reason of, it would be excellent if there was sort of more, if there was some sort of supernatural, but there's just no evidence.
There's just natural.
There's just good old-fashioned natural.
Now I did also want to mention, we did a lot of driving, talk about a little bit about driving etiquette. Because there was two things that really pissed me off when I was driving. Now, I'm not a super fast driver, so I'm not gunning it. I'm not like 120 Ks plus all the way and sort of trying to take over everyone and doing crazy shit. I drive 100K, or I drive the conditions. If it's rainy or windy, I drive a bit slower. I'll creep up to sort of 110 mark when I'm long straights. All pretty basic stuff. And yet I still encountered a lot of fucking idiots on the road. Now, if you're going 80K or less, whether you got a boat, whether you're a truck, whether you're anything, get the fuck out the way. Like, do not wait to build up like a kind of a long line of 20 cars behind you over the course of an hour and then go, oh, here you go, guys. Because then you've slowed everyone's trip down majorly because you have chosen to have a trailer or a boat or whatever it is, or just like taken in the scenery. If you're going to be one of those people, just be courteous. Once after you've built up, a few cars, just pull over to the side for a second. It's not really going to affect your trip, but it is going to affect other people's trips. So for God's sake, guys, stop just driving blindly like there's not 50 people behind you. That really fucks me off.
It really grinds my gears.
And it's just a little bit rude. It's just like, I care more about me getting to my place at exactly 80 Ks with no stops than I do all these people getting there ahead of me between half an hour and an hour quicker in better driving conditions, because I won't do that. So I did have a big issue with that. The other issue I have is with people doing the dangerous, silly takeover, the silly passing of someone. So you're driving along a road, and you're the car that's in front of the slow driver, right? And then there's another car behind you, and you're close to the guy in front of you. It's obvious you want to take over the guy in front of you, and you're waiting for an opportune time in the road where it's safe to do that. But this car behind you can't wait. But he's also being a fucking idiot. So he'll pull over and start trying to overtake, realize that it's far too dangerous, not appropriate time, obviously because I'm not doing it, and then he'll pull in front of you, essentially taking your place, and you've had to kind of slow down a bit to allow him back in so he doesn't kill himself from the oncoming traffic coming the other way.
Yeah, well, look, people are idiots. This has been long established. Like, in any situation, go work in retail, and, you know, you'll get idiotic questions all day. You know, go watch people driving, you'll just see dumb shit happening time and time again. Like, any line of work, like, our fellow citizens are, for the most part, idiots.
Not the listeners.
Not the listeners, obviously, but, you know, our fellow citizens, idiots, the lot of them. Well, not the lot of them, 70% of them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, just the more you observe, the more you realize that, you know, the world is full of really dumb motherfuckers. You know, and all we can do is sort of do our best to influence them positively. So that's why it's good to talk about this stuff on the podcast, just in case one of them is listening.
Yeah, in case you're one of those kind of, because that's doubly rude. Because one, you're basically jumping the queue of passing someone. You're putting the three cars at risk, yourself, the car that you're jumping the queue of, and the car that's going slowly. So you're putting everyone at risk because of your dangerous driving, and then slotting in front of the guy that was just waiting for a safe moment. Hey, this is just a dick move. You know? So it's just, all you have to do is just be a little bit more patient.
Well, they're not going to, though, because they're dicks. So now...
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick driver. Don't dick and drive.
So, I think now...
See what I did there?
I see. It's like drink and drive.
Yeah.
I think now we are going to talk about Star Wars.
Okay.
Are we? Now,
yes.
So this... For you listeners who have not seen Star Wars and don't want to hear about spoilers...
This will be our last topic of the conversation, of the podcast.
It will be. So thank you for watching or listening.
Thank you for listening.
Go and give us 5 stars on iTunes. Go and buy I Survived a Zombie Holocaust on iTunes. Go find the Guy and Harley podcast page and facebook.com/Guy and Harley and hit like and keep up with what we're doing. Now get the fuck out, because we're going to talk about Star Wars and Star Wars spoilers. Now this film's been out for 3 weeks or more, so
if you haven't seen it... What the fuck is wrong with you, man? We're talking...
If you haven't seen it, go watch it and think about your life.
Yeah, because what is wrong with you? I've seen it twice already. But not only that, this is going to be the highest grossing film of all time. It's already reached over $500,000 in America alone, and has broken about 1.2 billion worldwide. So it's just one of those... It's not one of those ones that you go, oh, yeah, maybe I'll catch it on DVD.
Yeah.
You've got to actually get out there and fucking watch this film.
Because even I went to the cinema to see it by myself.
And when was the last time you went to a film in the cinema? Before that?
I went
The Martian.
The Martian.
Which was a couple of months prior.
Yeah, and before that, probably even longer.
Before that, Titanic.
Maybe
the last must-watch film.
Maybe Interstellar, but I might have watched that at home. I can't remember.
So now we've both watched Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You definitely did not enjoy it. And you've got beef. So let's go through it, man.
Okay,
What did you not like about The Force Awakens?
Okay, so listen, I did like it. I was entertained the entire way through, but I was just really disappointed with it. It's not that it was not entertaining the entire way through, because I hate it when something new comes out and people start shitting all over it on the internet. They go, this sucks, blah, 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 right? That's not how I like to operate. I like to try and say, okay, cool, this might be good. Let's look at the positives here. I don't want to shit on it for no reason, but,
But now let me shit on it.
But let me shit on it because there was so many things wrong with that film, okay? Like starting with the basics, which is just, this was a real disappointment for me, was that they did not bother to write a new script. They just reused all of the plot points from the previous from the previous movies, including the real basic outline of, there's a big thing we've got to blow up. It's going to be really hard to blow up that thing. Okay, well, there's only one way to blow up the thing. Did we blow up the thing? Yep, we blew up the thing. And it was okay, that was the exact same thing. Okay, how do you destroy a giant planet-killing weapon in the Star Wars universe? Throw a handful of X-Wings at it. That's how you do it. Every single time. It's like, what? This thing can't defend against a handful of X-Wings? And what about so it's that same point, right, of it's got one small weakness which we can get, but at least in the old Death Star they required Luke Skywalker to use the Force, one of the most powerful Jedis ever. He had to use his Force aiming to shoot that proton torpedo
down the exhaust
port. It's very small, a few meters by 2 meters by 2 meters or whatever it was.
And it's possible because he used to bullseye womp rats in his T-16 back home.
Exactly. So we had this talented Jedi pilot, the only one that could do it. He was the only one that could do it. There was no way. The other guys tried, and they fucked it up. They got close. They were good.
Negative. It just impacted on the surface.
Yeah,
that's what happened to the guy that tried.
Yep, exactly.
And we all know how hard it is to shoot your proton torpedoes into a thermal exhaust port with great accuracy.
Exactly. And so they did it though. They got it. And it was like, wow, against all the odds, they did it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. In this one, right, they didn't have a Jedi pilot doing it. Mm-hmm. They just had normal pilots.
But they did have the best pilot in the galaxy, Poe Dameron.
Sure, but they also had this guy. He's brand new, like never heard of him. Just popped up.
Poe Dameron. He's the man.
Can't be that good because he got caught. And so anyway, so it was just too easy to blow up. It was like, okay, so they didn't even have to go into it. At least in the old Death Star, they had to like, on the second one, they had to get right inside it. Yep. On the first one, they had to get down that sort of valley, that highly defended valley, and blow up the exhaust port. This one was just like, we're just going to blow up this building on the surface, and it's going to destroy the entire planet.
Yeah, it's going to set a chain reaction that makes it unstable,
Okay,
Harley.
That's fine, but why would you have that sitting on the surface basically undefended? Like, why would you have the one thing that you can blow up just sitting there? And it
needs to be close to the surface to activate the weapon.
No.
You can't have it deep underground.
No, guy, that's silly. You wouldn't just have something on the surface that you can blow up one thing. I mean, there's weather on this planet. The weather might accidentally destroy it one day. It's just silly. It's silly that and instead of sending in like the crack troops, they sent in like the janitor, the Wookiee, and a 70-year-old man and a scrap. They sent a girl that searches for scrap for a living. A scavenger.
70-year-old man, pensioner. They sent in a pensioner, a scavenger, a Wookiee,
and a janitor
to destroy this thing.
Yes. And the stupid thing about it was they did it. It was just too easy. The whole thing was too easy. It was like, how are we going to get past the shields? Don't worry about the shields. I'll just drive right through them because it's at light speed. Now, light speed is like 86,000 kilometers a second or something like that.
Well, hey, to be fair, they almost crashed.
And like the atmosphere of a planet is like, I don't know, like 20 kilometers or something like that high, So basically you're going like 86,000 kilometers a second, and this guy needs to turn off the hyperdrive in between the force field and the mass of the planet into that tiny little 20 kilometer kind of slot.
This isn't anyone though. This is Han Solo.
This is a 70-year-old Han Solo driving a Millennium Falcon, which has not been maintained for 12 years, and it's okay. And he did it, and he just does it, and he does it real casually, like dee-dee-dee, and he goes. And then, how did all the X-Wings get in? They just did the same thing. Right?
No. So they then turned the shields off.
Who turned the shields off?
So Han Solo and
so they went in. Right. So the janitor knew exactly. That was the other thing. What was up with this janitor having all the intel on all the highly top secret stuff on this planet?
If you're the janitor, it means you clean up the shit on every level, which means you know what's going on every level. It's true, actually, that a cleaner has access to every area in a building. Therefore, the janitor theory is fine.
Well, it's not, because we're not talking about a building. We're talking about a planet, a highly a militarized planet. And so this guy was not the janitor of the planet. He did not janitize the entire planet. This guy was the janitor on his little army base somewhere somewhere and was not privy to top secret information such as where the weak spot was.
He was the
as if he would know that.
the janitor of the area where this unstable bit that needed destabilizing was.
Right.
Clearly.
Okay. I'll buy that, okay?
He's had swipe access, he's cleaned all the shit everywhere.
So even though he's been missing for quite a long time and he's gone AWOL and he's become a traitor, that they know where he is and they know he's fighting with the Resistance, the for some reason renamed Rebel Alliance turns into the Resistance. We'll get to that. Resisting... Who are they resisting? They are the Republic now. Who are they resisting?
Well, I think that originally they were the Republic, but then they didn't want to get into the sort of the political thing that George Lucas did, which bored everyone to death. So they were kind of like, well, it can't be the actual Republic, or you're going to have to see some of that. So this is the Resistance, which is like an offshoot of the Republic that is not got bogged down in the bureaucracy of the Republic's ineffectiveness to combat this new threat.
Right.
See?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm on board with that one, but that's fine. So this guy knows it all. He knows it all. They go in there. Like, why did they send that shitty team to go and do this really important job? How come you can only do it? You can blow it up with just a few X-wings. Why the fuck would it take the entire power of a star to blow up some planets? It doesn't make sense. Why did Ray, not Ray, the other one, what's his name? Finn. Now, Finn, so he betrays everybody. He jumps on this plane, on this X-Wing, right, in the hangar, and he starts blasting his only friends and family, the people he grew up with.
Well, they're not his family.
Well, the closest thing he has to family.
His friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
No, but he grew up with them since he was a kid. He grew up on this base with these guys, right? And so on a dime, he turns and starts blasting these people. He doesn't even know who's who because they're all wearing helmets. It'll be the equivalent of me blasting you because he's bound to have had a friend in there.
I'll say two things about that. One, it's kill or be killed, man. They're shooting at him. What is he going to go? Look, because all you are people I know, I will let you blow me up right now? No, he's got to fucking shoot back. That's a choice that was taken out of his hands when the choice is get blown up or die.
I feel like it makes him quite a bad person.
So get blown up or die. Sorry, you're going to have to do some blowing up. Secondly, this may have nothing to do with his janitor team. His janitor team may be far away from this hangar. Well,
he's not a janitor anymore. But yeah, okay.
So what I'm saying though is that like those people that he's shooting could be completely he knows none of them. He just knows that they're stormtroopers and that they're shooting at him. And in fact, he knows for sure they're not his mates because his mates are in another area. He just walked down there with Poe Dameron because that's where you got to go to get the fuck out of there.
Okay, what about this? What about how the stormtroopers are notoriously terrible at shooting?
Yep.
They can't shoot a thing. They cannot hit anything to save their lives. Literally to save their lives, they cannot hit anything. And yet this guy, a stormtrooper, suddenly he can shoot better than everybody else?
That's easy to answer.
Because you reckon he's a Jedi?
Because he has some force aptitude.
Well, isn't that very convenient that all of the Jedis in the universe always seem to just bump into each other randomly?
It's not convenient. It's fate.
It's fate. It's the
destiny.
Force working.
It's the Force drawing people together for its own wants and needs. And so, what you say is a series of coincidences had to happen because, there's bigger things at play driving these things. And if you look at the Star Wars trilogy, there's a lot of fucking coincidences in that. And there's a lot of these kind of things where you're like, whoa, hey, why did this? What? And it's like, yeah, the Force.
Okay, well, speaking about ridiculous coincidences, only this one not Force-related, what about how Han Solo has lost his ship?
Yeah.
Right, he's lost it. It's gone missing for 12 years. He doesn't know what's happened to it. It's gone now. The Millennium Falcon, he lost it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? 12 years have gone by. It's changed hands a whole bunch of times through various traders on Jakku, right? And then as soon as this chick steals it, she escapes Jakku, and then instantly Han Solo is like, "Oh, hey, here I am. Oh, here's my ship. Oh, I'm gonna beam it on board with the tractor beam."
That's easy to answer. Han Solo has been tracking his ship for 12 years. It's led him to Jakku, which he's just arrived at, and now he's like, okay, we need to do a scan of this Jakku, but it's a big place. It's going to be, we know that it's somewhere around here, but we have to, I'm not sure where. and then out it pops, and it's like, okay, now the signal's stronger. I
Right.
know the Millennium Falcon. Boom, here we go.
So
also, he was in the middle of smuggling some stuff, so he is also running extra jobs while looking for the Falcon. So he
Yeah.
can't dedicate all his time to it.
So your answer is incredible coincidence. That's what you're
No,
saying.
well,
So
no.
you're saying his job happened to take
Credible
him
coincidence.
to Jakku. His job smuggling the
Thing, I don't know, the big alien
I
things.
forget what they're called too.
Yeah.
His job smuggling those just happened to take him to Jakku, and just at the exact precise hour that she happens to steal this ship, he happens to be there and just happened to notice it.
Well,
That's
no-
cool. All right, I buy it. I'm on board.
Well, he was sitting up there looking for the ship,
Right.
and then the ship comes into his sensors thing, and he's like, "Okay, cool, we got the ship."
But you have to admit that in a 12-year hunt for this ship, it's quite a coincidence that it would happen right.
Yeah, but as Obi-Wan would say, the Force works in mysterious ways.
I think that's the Bible. I think that's Christians. I think that's what Christians say. So, okay. Now, what about how Kylo Ren? Okay, so now here we go. We've got this story which is being retold, right? We're retelling the story of A New Hope, right? Which is the Rebel Alliance needs to blow up the Death Star for some reason, and they send in a small force to do it. The difference is that in the original films, you've got Darth Vader, right? Now here is a guy, a Jedi Knight, right? Originally, right? A Sith Lord.
Yep.
A guy with all the best training, a guy who is very, very powerful in the ways of the Force. He's got the most in his blood.
Most midichlorians
In his blood. Ever recorded.
Even more
right?
than Master Yoda.
Right, exactly. And now this guy, he obviously, when he went to the dark side and he moved his way up through the Empire, obviously he was always going to come to a position of power within the Empire, because he is an incredibly powerful warrior with all the best connections to the Emperor and so on. Now, Kylo Ren is a terrible warrior. He doesn't use the Force sort of very well at all. He doesn't. He fights two non-Jedis, or one Jedi who's not been trained at all, and one guy who's not even a Jedi, with a lightsaber. And he loses. Ultimately, he loses.
Yep.
Which just doesn't seem that right to me. And then he's kind of just this needy, but not really that great. Sort of, he's not very powerful or smart. He doesn't strike me as a particularly deadly enemy. And yet somehow this guy, this buffoon, now he is the leader of the Knights of Ren. That's what Kylo Ren is. He's the leader of the Knights of Ren, right? There's some sort of powerful society of knights, presumably. So this is the leader of them, right? And somehow, and yet he's got no powers. He's done nothing. He's just this guy, easily defeated, not very smart, sort of not very calm, not very in control of his emotions, like kid. And it's like, how did he become such a powerful and prominent figure in this new empire? And it doesn't make sense. His connection to Princess Leia should not give him any credibility in the empire, because that's the leader of the resistance. His deadbeat smuggler father isn't going to help him out. It's not like he's this ain't
But
this is not a connection like the Emperor and Anakin. This is just this guy who we need him to be real high ranking, so he's high ranking.
no,
That's just the way it is.
You're thinking about it in the wrong context. One, he's unformed person.
So how's he so high ranking if he's unformed?
It's easy. Okay, one, he can do more than pretty much anyone in the galaxy, bar Luke Skywalker, this chick Rey. So he is, and General Snoke, who is supposedly this new Sith Master. So he is, in terms of what he can do on a human ability level, the second or third most powerful that is known in the galaxy at this time. So that's a pretty powerful weapon to wield if you're General Snoke and you don't want to get involved in shit on a ground-to-ground level, which of course you don't. Emperor's got Darth Vader, Snoke's got this guy to basically do his dirty work. Secondly, he's not in full control because he hasn't completed his training. He's a lot like Luke Skywalker was in Empire Strikes Back, which is, clearly has a great aptitude for the Force, clearly not ready, to go up against Darth Vader. Clearly full of making mistakes. Luke failed in the cave. Luke failed to raise his X-Wing. Luke, against the advice of Yoda and Obi-Wan, went to go and save his friends, which did not help his friends and almost got him killed. So it's that kind of vibe. But how did he get so high in the thing? Well, because at the end of the day, Snoke needs a guy with the Force to do his bidding.
He's being groomed by Snoke.
Yeah.
I buy that. All right, I buy that.
And in terms of like, how did Rey and Finn, who may or may not be any good with the Force, beat him? Well, I've got a couple of things about that. One, he was shot by Chewbacca's giant crossbow rifle in the stomach. So that happened before they fought, which greatly would weaken anyone, because that's a giant, huge, that's bigger than a normal blaster, and he's been shot in the stomach. So half of his attention is going to be about using the Force to try and contain that wound and not pass out at any second from the pain. So he's dealing with a lot right there. Also, something that wasn't really clear enough in the movies, but is in both the script and the novelization, is that when he killed Han Solo, that greatly weakened him. So, killing his family, killing his blood like that, he thought that it was going to set him free, and actually was a huge blow to his abilities with the Force. And they didn't really there was no real way to show that visually, but that was like a big plot point, and that makes sense because he's still connected to the light side, and is still drawing from that to some degree. So when he kills, blood family, this is not like Darth Vader killing Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is like killing your fucking dad. It's serious shit. So the Chewbacca rifle blast plus the crippling of himself by killing his father at that time, those things combined led to Rey having the ability to fight him off in that climactic battle.
Okay, I'm on board. What about how... So what about how Rey, right? So Anakin, they don't want to train him because he's too old. He's fucking 6. They don't want to train him because he's too old.
No, that's Luke they don't want to train.
No, I thought it was Anakin. No, Anakin, they don't want to train Anakin. Obi-Wan's master says he's too old. We can't train him.
Right.
And Anakin,
I think he's 12
and Obi-Wan's like, yeah, we can. It's all good. He'll be sweet. And then he turns out to be the biggest villain in the universe.
Let's be real. Obi-Wan's made many dubious decisions through the Star Wars things. I mean, technically it was Qui-Gon who said that we should train this boy, and Obi-Wan was like, I don't know, Master. What the fuck?
No.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is like, on his side, like, yeah, man, we got to train up this kid. And Qui-Gon's like, nah, bro.
No, Qui-Gon is like, we'll need to train this boy. And Obi-Wan's like, bringing this, slaver is not a good idea. I don't think we should do this. And he's like, you will listen to me. Right. I'm Liam Neeson.
Right.
And then after Liam Neeson dies, he's like, train the boy.
I'll train them, yeah.
But Obi-Wan's made several faux pas. That was definitely one of them. The second one was when he left Anakin for dead. He did not actually kill him.
Yeah.
Leading him to become the most evil person in the galaxy who killed millions and millions of people and who was basically, the Emperor's foot shoulder to do the worst things ever to everyone. That was a real mishap by Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Well, really, but anyway.
Okay, so then obviously there's a little bit of an error there in the next one when they train Luke, who's like fucking 20. And then now in this one, right, Luke spends the entire movie like training with Yoda, with the most powerful Jedis in the universe. Yeah. Do or do not, there is no try, wax on, wax off, all that stuff.
Miyagi,
and then he becomes, and then he starts being able to use his tricks. These are not the drones you're looking for, even though that's not him that says that. But suddenly Rey, she can just do it. She just teaches herself how to do the most difficult Jedi mind tricks. She tells this one guard that's been left to guard her, you will unlock these and walk out, leaving the door open. And it's like, oh, come on, man. So she can just do it now. She can just do it.
Apparently,
and she's never picked up a saber in her life, and she can suddenly use it, and it was just all of this, it was like, okay, so she is a more strong in the Force than Anakin or Luke? Because Anakin and Luke both required a lot of training. She can just do it.
Well, I guess
And she never noticed until now.
My rebuttal to that is you're not really going to notice that much when you're out scavenging for parts. You're just going to be better at finding scraps, probably. So that's probably why she didn't notice it up until that point. Also, I think that their theory that, like you have to train people when they're really young is incorrect as proven by Luke Skywalker. But, that was the way it was done for, over something millennia or whatever the hell it was. Yeah. Over 1,000 years. The Jedi were guardians of
the galaxy.
Yeah. So, Guardians of the Galaxy was that's another film. In the Old Republic. So anyway, so I think that, that could be also, yes, she could be better at the Force than those people. And also I think it's, it's just like, some people are really good at stuff without really being shown it. And some people aren't, but when they're shown it, become better than the people that were naturally good at it. So I feel like there could be certainly an element of that. And also, she was fighting someone who, had not completed his training, was gravely injured at the time, and therefore, definitely had a sort of advantage. Also, they did mention, again in the novelization and the screenplay, is that she may have been using some elements of the dark side while she was doing that stuff. So that wasn't like just her being in full control. It was her being angry and losing control and being gripped by the dark side, which we know is quicker, easier. And therefore, and so when Luke was struggling along there, he was just using the light side, which is probably harder to really master, obviously. Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, I buy that. That's all right. Now, now, see, the big issue I feel with...
I don't have an excuse for them kind of recycling the plot from the original Star Wars, except to say that J.J. Abrams was a big fan of the original Star Wars, and he felt that was the film that he wanted to sort of take from the most.
Yeah, but you got to bring something fresh, man. You got to bring something fresh, and superficial things such as having R2BB8, superficial things such as having a black protagonist and a female protagonist. Yep. Right now, while that's cool, that's not plot point stuff. That's good. I'm glad that she was a strong feminist. And that's great. But I really feel like it wasn't. It didn't really bring anything new to the story or to the franchise. Which was a bit of a disappointment. But also now, this Kylo Ren thing. If you're going to recycle the original story, the blowing up of the star using the handful of X-wings, shooting the little thing, all right? If you're going to do that, okay, that's fine. If you're going to bring in a new baddie, right? That's cool too. You've got to, and if you're going to bring in a baddie who is the related via blood to one of the main characters and dresses all in black and walks around the Death Star, that's fine too. But this new baddie, he needs to be bigger and badder than Darth Vader. This needs to be, you need to be bringing something to the table here. It's got to be an improvement on the old story. So to have kind of basically the bumbling doofus version of Darth Vader, and expect me to be invested. I was never oh no, Kylo Ren's gonna win. Darth Vader, you're man, he's such a fucking badass, and you don't really want to see Darth Vader die either. You kind of, even though he's a really bad guy, you love to hate him and you want him to survive somehow almost. You're kind of rooting for that bad guy. Whereas with Kylo Ren, you're fucking chop that cunt up. Chop him up. And that's the other thing too. Chop him up with no blood because this is fucking G-rated because it's Disney now.
Oh, well, look, we'll also say that the lightsaber basically cauterizes as it cuts.
Yeah, but that's not the same. That's fine if you're doing a stabbing motion, but if you're chopping somebody... if you chop somebody through the waist, right, their insides are going to become an outside, and no amount of cauterization is going to keep it in there. Who
did he cut in half?
Well, no one. That's the fucking problem. He's got a goddamn lightsaber, right? This is the ultimate weapon for chopping people into little pieces, and nobody has chopped into any little pieces at any point. There's no dismemberment. There's no hands chopped off. And it's because of that whole Disney thing. Disney has done exactly what I feared they would do, which is PG it up, G it up, make it as widely available as possible. 6-year-olds can go and see this fucking movie.
No, it's PG-13.
Is it?
Yeah.
Whatever. 6, 13, same shit. Right, kids can go and see this thing, and they just take out the violence, they add in, they just really, I feel like they just cookie cutted this movie. They were just like, okay, cool, yep, we'll just make a clone of the first one, but make it G and make it wider, a wider audience, and it's like, it just didn't really feel like it achieved anything new. The more I think about it, the more I think it's actually worse than the prequels.
Whoa. Some big calls going on here.
Because the prequels felt much more grandiose. They felt much more like, a real universe as opposed to sort of a pale imitation of the Star Wars universe.
Well, look, I'll say that in terms of Kylo Ren, I think that I kind of disagree. Although, like, emo Kylo Ren on Twitter is very funny.
Yeah.
And he talks about, like, I think they made a joke about the Wookiee taking his Pantene Pro V for his hair.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, he was complaining about that. He's like, I hate this family.
Yeah.
I was like, this is brilliant. And, like, I've long had this idea for a skit where basically there's this annoying teenager who is learning to become a Jedi and is basically, using the Force to jerk off and be really annoying, and, like, Yoda's basically having to put up with his shit. And essentially Kylo Ren is the slightly further along version of that character.
Well, now's the time to shoot that, man. If we're going to do anything like that, now is the time while Star Wars is hot.
We should definitely do something like that. And I have some ideas about, like, the Kylo, like the Han Solo Princess Leia household before he left.
Yeah.
And he was just an annoying little shit.
Yeah.
And, I agree to a degree that, he's certainly not a badass like, he is dangerous, but he's not a badass like Darth Vader. But I do think, in a way, I'm kind of glad because now we get to see that evolution into the next 2 films.
Yeah, which I would feel really confident about if George Lucas was at the helm. But because Disney is running this fucking crap show, it's like, what's going to happen?
George Lucas said that he'd sold it to white slavers recently.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then he quickly took that back.
Yeah. But so, like...
little slip of the tongue there, George.
Yeah. But, like, I don't... If The Force Awakens is a sign of what is to come from Disney and Star Wars, I am really concerned because there's this trilogy, but there's also these offshoot movies that are coming as well, right? These other offshoot movies.
Yep.
And, let's call it what it is. It's a sponge, and they are wringing out every last cent that they can get, and they don't care about the story, they don't care about the characters, they don't give a fuck, they just want your money.
Well,
That's
no,
it.
I disagree. I think that J.J. Abrams and all the team of it, they really did care about the fans. And that's why it's been so well received by most people, is because they tried to do something as best they could that
70% of the population are idiots, man.
that people would really respond to in a way that they didn't respond to the prequels. And so far they have been proven right, apart from your your reservation.
Well, all of those horrible plot points which have not been explained.
But yeah, so, like, I look forward to Kylo Ren molding into that person in the same way. And also, like, let's remember where Luke Skywalker started.
Yeah.
Oh, but I was going to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters. Don't do that. You're making a mess. I'm looking for Yoda. Like, he was an annoying little shit.
Yeah, he was, but the difference is he was an annoying little shit that lived on a bumfuck planet Tatooine in the middle of nowhere and had zero power. He had exactly how much power you would expect him to have. He was not the leader of the new Empire's right-hand man, Like, he had not risen to that seat in life, and that made sense. He was an annoying teenager. That's all he was, as opposed to this guy who somehow was well above where he should have been, his station.
Well, we'll see. I think that Kylo Ren's gonna evolve into a great bad guy, and I'm looking forward to that journey in the second one. And I'm glad he didn't start off as an amazing bad guy, because that they've still got 2 movies to go, man.
Yeah, but, like, okay, Anakin didn't start off as an amazing bad guy, but he started off but he was much more, I don't know, likable and more believable. You could really see that transition. I remember watching the prequels and I was like, wow, after watching the first one, I was like, wow, I'm really interested to see how they're going to turn this little kid into Darth Vader, because he seems like a sweet kid, you know, like I'm interested to see that.
I would suggest watching those prequels again.
They did a good job, you know.
I'm not sure that they did. I think if you rewatch that, you're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses.
Well, my glasses are not very rose-tinted with those prequels.
But I think you're just like your memories of how the Anakin sort of slowly went to Darth. Like, you know, now I look at this stuff. It seems quite, apart from the third one, it seems quite awkward, quite overacty, quite like not quite good, not very good at all. But we better wrap it up. This has been the Force Awakens episode. I encourage you all to go out and see it if you haven't. If you haven't,
Well,
why are you listening
Why
to
are you
this?
listening?
What is wrong with you if you haven't seen it? But otherwise, you know, I'm looking forward to the next one. I think you might be turned around by the next one when a few of these things are explained in a bit more detail. But you've got to have faith.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was all far too easy as my conclusion. Just everything just fell into place. Too many coincidences, too easy. And I have grave feelings of grave premonitions of the previous one, of the next one. But look, you guys be the judges, okay? You're listening, so please
let us know.
Let us know.
Did you think it was you on the Harley camp or you on the Guy camp? Are you the dark side, or are you
the logical side?
The light.
Your side is the dark side. Mine is the logical, critical thinking side.
My side.
Are you a logical, critical thinker, or do you just like anything that says Star Wars?
Have you thought about these things? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Harley?
Well, let us know by going to facebook.com/GuyAndHarley and write a comment on our wall, send us a message, whatever. Comment on this very video, comment on this very podcast.
And we might talk about it if we get any good feedback. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll talk about it next week, exactly. So thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. Remember, next week's will be slightly late.
And remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.